Hello, 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 wherever you are on this transformative planet called Earth. I hope you are having a decent day, evening, or night, wherever you happen to be located. My topic on my sports channel for the day is to cover the illustrious, the fantastic, and the loud Skip Bayless. And the loud part really goes to him because Skip is not loud, but Shannon Sharpe is loud. So I'm talking about Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Some a powerful comment that Shannon Sharpe made about Mr. Lebron James. He said something incredible that I thought he would never say. And if, like me, ladies and gentlemen, you either look at that live show on that illustrious, I guess number 2 ranked sports station, but Skip and Shannon, they make that station propel to the front. But it's after the so-called first one. I don't want to say no names or give no little free advertisement. But if you know anything about Shannon Sharpe, he is like the leader of the band. He is the maestro. He is the lead singer who praised LeBron James to the heavens. And Shannon eyes, he is the so-called greatest of all time. He and Shannon eyes has been the GOAT probably since day one. Probably since his 3rd year in the league when they started going to them championships. He definitely became the GOAT in Shannon's eyes when he won his 3rd championship. When they defeated the Golden State Warriors, Shannon threw him over the top of the other NBA iconic players who have accomplished more than him, than LeBron, and have more championships. But Shannon says anyway, regardless, with his current 4, he's still the best player of all time in Shannon terms. And Shannon will run up and down the street. He will get on every station. He will tell you in the barber shop, the salon, on stage in front of 1,000 people. He will shout out that he is LeBron's number 1 fan. There are others, but Shannon is the loudest and the most emotional. I've watched him many times. When you see him talking about LeBron James, it's like you talking about somebody who he loves. That's how emotional he is. Somebody who he gravely, dearly loved. The way he argued with Skip. I'm gonna put a little clip on in a few seconds. It's gonna be about something that I thought Shannon would never ever utter out of his mouth, because for years, he has never ever said anything negative about his basketball icon who he propels up to be on the glory stand. Let's listen to Shannon interact with Skip and describing, in his eyes, a possible flaw that LeBron may have. So let me stop this clip right now.
Game for the happened. He had a little flurry to start, and then he went into a shell. It looked like he disengaged, he unplugged. I couldn't even recognize him the rest of the game.
Okay. So LeBron James is not the player that can take regular NBA guys, not superstars, and go to the next level.
Right there. You heard it out his mouth. Out Shannon's mouth. Shannon said that LeBron to take players, regular NBA players, he cannot take them to a higher level. Now, the other people who we call the GOAT, they have taken the average NBA player, the standard NBA player, they have taken them to the pinnacle of success. Most of the former so-called GOATs have taken a regular NBA player and made them Hall of Fame level players. So according to Shannon, LeBron James lacks the ability. LeBron James lacks the wherewithal. He may have basketball IQ on court, but this does not involve basketball IQ. When you propel players to a higher level, that means interpersonal interaction skills. So Shannon basically saying LeBron James has poor interpersonal interaction skills. He cannot motivate someone. That was Shannon saying. Shannon is basically saying LeBron James lacks the ability to motivate players so they can become all-star level caliber players. LeBron can't do that. Now the other so-called GOAT players could do that. They can take players who were drafted by the organization after they came on the team. See, I'm going to say it again. The other so-called GOAT players, they're already on a team. Then several years later, the organization draft other players. The so-called GOAT or the elite player can raise them other players up to be at least in a all-star game several times. And if they don't do that, they take them to such a level that most of the players who they play with, they put them into the Hall of Fame. But according to Shannon, LeBron James, he lacks that ability. He can't do it. I'll give you a case in point. When LeBron James went to his first NBA final game with the Cavaliers, he got swept. Swept. What does that mean if you got swept? That means you lack the intellectual. You lack the the teammates who look up to you. You cannot motivate the teammates to look up to you to perform on a higher level, to transcend what they currently are. LeBron James lacked that ability. I'm going to give you some examples of players who was able to take players drafted after them and propel them to an all-star level, propel them to a Hall of Fame level. The first one, Bill Mikan, who was the original player, or one of the persons when the Lakers was in Minneapolis, he won several championships, but we just don't hear about him. We don't hear about him anymore, Mr. Mikan. We don't hear about him and some of the other foundational players. But Mr. Mikan won 4 championships. So to win those championships, but he is in the Hall of Fame. But to win those championships, he had to propel the players after him to a higher level. He had to be a motivator. According to Shannon, according to Shannon, LeBron James is not a motivator. And here's how we know. To get his first championship, he had to lead the Cavaliers and joined the Miami Heat. And when he joined the Miami Heat, he joined with another Hall of Fame level player, Mr. Dwayne Wade. And he didn't stop there. He said, I got to make this team stronger. So he contacted Chris Bosh, who was a perennial Hall of Fame level player, to join him. And with those three, he was able to win 2 championships. But the key here is, that is not talent that he cultivated. LeBron didn't cultivate that talent. Dwayne Wade already won a championship, so he knew what to do. He had to teach LeBron how to win a championship. He had to teach LeBron and Chris Bosh how to play at elite level. And Chris Bosh was an elite level player. I think he played for Toronto Raptors or one of them teams before it left Canada. I think it was Toronto. But the fact is, he could not do it. Mr. Bill Russell, before he joined the Celtics was at the bottom of the league. When Bill Russell joined the Celtics, he lifted up the organization. He had the interpersonal skills to lift the current players around him, drafted or traded to the team. But he had the ability to lift them up. So together they all could win championships. And he won 11 of them. And he lifted many of those players up to such a high level that many of his teammates within the Hall of Fame. They are within the Hall of Fame. So that's Bill Russell. Now, if I miss anyone, I only can go over what I know of, the people who I know. But you can add something in the chat box. The next one is Mr. Isaiah Thomas. One of the top players who won a championship without a dominant center. But he was drafted by Detroit. Players who came along a year or two later after him, Mr. Thomas, had the ability to stimulate their personalities, their ego. He had the ability to massage their ego to lift them up to a level where they became perennial all-star players. And not just that, he lifted them up to a level where they became back-to-back champions. Isaiah Thomas, Bill Russell, and others who I'm not going to name, they did not have to leave their team to join up with other players. They didn't have to do that. Another player who I know of, Larry Bird. Before Larry Bird came to the Celtics, I heard the season before he joined the Celtics, they won 29 games the previous season. When Larry Bird came to the Celtics that same season, they won 63 games. And they didn't win a championship, but he had the ability not just to have basketball IQ like some of the other players had. He had the ability to lift his teammates up to a higher level. Then the next season, after his first season, he won a championship, and he won 3 of them by having the personal skills to lift up the drafted players and some of the traded players. He pushed them to such a level where they became perennial all-stars again. And not just that, those players on his team joined Larry Bird in the Hall of Fame. And now, Magic Johnson, he had the ability to inspire players because what we see, he has the ability to inspire players. He do. But it's a difference with him. When he came to the team, it was already elite level talent there. See, when Bill Russell and Larry Bird joined that team, it was no elite level talent. When Magic Johnson or Urban Johnson joined the Lakers, it already had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Remember, he won a number of MVPs. I think he won 1 championship before that. So, and then he drafted James Worthy, another number 1 draft pick. But but he still had the ability to make the team cohesive. And if you can make the team cohesive, like Magic and the others did, you make the team cohesive, that's going to lead you to getting championships. And he won 5 of them with his teammates who he bonded with and who he motivated to achieve levels. Many of the players on his team are in the Hall of Fame. Now, Kareem would have been in the Hall of Fame regardless of if Magic was there or not. But the others, because Magic lifted them up to a higher level, they are in the Hall of Fame. So, we see, as Shannon Sharpe said, the number one fan for LeBron James. He plainly stated out his mouth. Now, he didn't sound loud like he usually sounds. He sounded a little bit subdued. But he said LeBron James don't have the ability to uplift team drafted players or players who may have been acquired through trades. He don't have that ability. He has to always join or beg top level, elite level talent to come to him. He had to beg Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. That's number one. He had to beg Kyrie Irving, but he was already on Cleveland, and he had to turn an organization to bring in that forward, Kevin Love. See, for the most part, to win 3 championships, he needed 3 players. The only time he only needed 2, himself and another, is when it was in a bubble. And he had 5 months to rest his body up then. But when he joined the Lakers for the first championship, he needed the help of Anthony Davis. Now, for the 2021 season, he got thrown at the playoff by the Phoenix Suns because Anthony Davis, for some reason, couldn't maintain his level of fitness. His body kept breaking down continuously, almost like Mr. Glass in that famous Hollywood movie, Bruce Star, Mr. Shalom. I saw a video about that on YouTube of him being Mr. Glass. They're always breaking. That's what they've been doing. So, but at least they won 1 championship. But we see the point here. LeBron James cannot develop team talent by the organization. Now, here's the last person who Mr. LeBron James always compared to, Michael Jordan. Now, we know from the documentary he was an a-hole to many of his teammates. Already knew he was an a-hole. If you know anything about basketball or Roman knowledge of basketball, especially if you come from the 90s like I did, I read the book called The Jordan Rules, so I already knew he was already an a-hole. So the documentary didn't tell me anything different than it didn't surprise me anyway. I know he was already an a-hole with many players. He was an a-hole, but with Horace Grant, that was listed in the Jordan Rules. He got on Horace Grant, was an a-hole. He dealt with Scottie Pippen, almost broke him, almost had him crying in tears, because how ruthless and how hard he was with his teammates. But even though he was an a-hole, even though he fought players and gave them black eyes like Judge Bushler, fighting Steve Kerr and many others, even though he did that, that was his passionate way of stimulating the players' psyche to get them to perform at a higher level. Even though he was an a-hole, Jordan still propelled players to join an elite class. Now, unlike Magic and Bird, primarily, he only elevated 1 player to be a Hall of Fame player, a top 50 player. Jordan only elevated Scottie Pippen. Magic and Bird, Mike and Bill Russell, they elevated multiple players to be in the Hall of Fame. Jordan only did 1, Scottie Pippen. And I know Dennis Rodman was a teammate of his in '96, but Dennis Rodman would have went to the Hall of Fame regardless if he played on the Bulls. The Bulls just cement him in the Hall of Fame anymore. So that's my take, ladies and gentlemen. Coming from his number one fan. The one who praised him to the heavens. The one who will go into the ditch and fight with him. Shannon Sharpe said, LeBron does not have the talent. Shannon admitted that's one of his only flaws that may stop him from being a GOAT. Because he cannot develop team-based talent. He has to always join up with other elite level forces. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for taking a few moments to view my videos. Until the next session, good people, peace.